Hello, participants of the F1 2026 project. This is Deuce, and today I'm doing a tutorial on how to make a car go from that white husk to this kind of racing machine. So, real quickly to start, we're starting with the engine. The regulations require it be a twin turbocharged flat six. This is just the bare bones setup right here, and I'm going to walk you through step by step on building the engine. So first thing I'm going to take care of is connecting the both banks, and this is actually probably the most crucial part of having this engine work together synchronously, because you have all the air mix and stuff balancing evenly. Then also the coolant goes in one bank and comes out the other, and also the exhaust comes out as out of that area too. So that's the back of the engine where the exhaust pipe is sticking out there, and the clutch. So now I'm gonna place down basic manifolds. So for the fuel manifolds, place two of them on the back two cylinders facing towards the middle, because the fuel is gonna go and sit on top of the engine. Then as for air manifolds, I'm just trying to remove some of the rotation labels so you can see stuff better. Alright, so going back into manifolds, we're going to place 4 air manifolds on the last 4 open spots on the top of the engine, and they're going to face towards the outside of the engine. And I'm going to get myself some impeller pumps, because that is what is required to make these engines run very efficiently. So, because there's also a certain boost pressure limit as well, which is precisely 17.5 atmospheres, but over time we are going to tighten these regulations to get that down towards 15. So you have to deliberately set it at 15, but if it goes any over 17.5 atmospheres of boost any time, the engine is illegal. And you can't exactly restrict fuel flow on these engines either, because it's Stormworks and like a variable valve to you can't really just slap on the engine, because you have to use every single block you can. So going to the bottom here, I'm going to use the same coolant setup from my RBPTH001 engine, which is my very first Formula 1 engine that I used in an F1 2026 car. I'm not going to use the current model because I don't want to be just giving information away to my competitors. So, going to this, you have to throw in a coolant expansion tank. You also have to throw in some pipes and, of course, a pump. This one's also in power pump, but because this time the impower pump is the only pump powerful enough to move that a large amount of pressure and volume through the system, which is needed for these engines because they rev up to 60 RPS or 3600 RPM, which in Stormworks is a lot of RPM for one. And even in a small engine like this, it is prone to overheating, so you need like a really fast cooling system. So I quickly checked on the engine previously, so when I paused the video there. So I'm going to extend the pipes 2 blocks in front of the engine, and then right there I'm going to throw in the coolant expansion tank, which is also important because it actually reduces stress on the impeller pump and gives it more liquid to work with. So you don't waste electricity on trying to cool your engine as much. But it shouldn't be much of an issue anyway, though, because it is connected to what is going to be the hybrid system. So then you can just make this setup work with a 3x3 radiator or electric radiator. Of course, regular radiators are complete dog water, so of course we're not using that. So we have the cooling system finished up. Let's see. For the next step, I am gonna put on the air manifolds, the intake manifolds, for the turbo pressure and stuff. So it is required that you have fluid pressure sensors on both manifolds. So each manifold is confirmed to be pushing the same amount of pressure on each side, and then also it would also help with your own control of your boost pressure, which is also good for keeping the engine nice and responsive. And that's all. That's it for the air manifold. That's done. So now I'm putting on a starter and some alternators to start with. But I'll move those around later when I come to find out I'm doing a slightly different fuel setup than what I did with most of my other engines. Sorry, excuse me. So next I get the hybrid battery, and it's not 3 small default batteries, it's 6 1x1 block battery cells. And actually these cells are actually more power dense than the default Stormworks small batteries. This is from the Electric Parts Expanded mod. It is one of the required mods in the technical regulations for the Stormworks F1 2026 project. And then 3 batteries are for different systems. So you have 3 batteries for the hybrid system and 3 batteries for Essential Electrics. The hybrid system batteries are in the orange, and the Essential Systems batteries are in the lighter orange. So now I'm getting work on the fuel setup. So of course you join those two together in the middle, and then we have some pipes. We're going to take a liquid relief valve. We can actually measure fuel flow in terms for fuel efficiency standpoints, and all the fuel tanks will be resting on top of the engine right here. So I'm going to be toying around with a few different setups because of the way I have I have some of the other things set up on some of my other engines. So yeah, I did a lot of this off camera, and I did find out the optimal setup right here. The engine actually turned out pretty nice. And yeah, you are now looking at the finished internal combustion engine right here. So yeah, this is based off the RBP-TH001 engine that I made. That's inspired by Red Bull Honda powertrains. The engine turned out nice, and now I'm going to save it, and then before we attach it to the chassis, we need to make a nice compact gearbox to go with it on the rear wheels. So for this gearbox, I decided to paste it at first, but I also would like to show you step by step on what to do with this thing. So it's not only the gearbox that's here, you also have the traction clutch differential, which is actually directly respondent to the steering wheel. I'm gonna leave that middle column first, which is just 2 angled pipes, as you can see there. And then I'm gonna slap on my gearboxes, and they're all gonna be facing away from the engine's power flow. And yeah, that's literally the transmission part of everything. Then I'm gonna get some clutches out of the inventory, or just save it, then get clutches out of the inventory. Um, or check on the engine here. Or I'm gonna copy and paste it directly onto the gearbox, just making sure I get everything. And what do you look at that? That actually fit really nicely. Like, it basically fits perfectly the way it's designed, and the cars are kind of designed around the placement of the engine gearbox. So it's kind of really easy to make those measurements. So technically the front and the back are already connected as a frame, if you include the halo. So now you have the traction difference, or traction clutch differential. So basically what happens with it is the more you turn the wheel, the more the inside is cut off from the power. And you can see I'm adjusting the gearboxes there, making sure everything's correct. I find out later the final drive ratio is too high. I need to go down a click because I've been reaching my lower top speed. So gonna do some more angled pipes here. They're enclosed, of course, for aesthetic, but it's not like it adds any more weight. So, but then this is gonna be inside the car. But then again, I just do more enclosed pipes. So then technically, the transmission and the differential is finished. The only thing I need to do is basically connect 3 different sections of pipe, or 3 blocks worth of pipes, which is down there in this open space right under the clutch of the engine here. All I need is like 3 T pieces, and then the rear wheels are connected to the engine. Then just do a little color coding for everything, and it looks beautiful. So for this next part, you see I just placed a clutch there on the right side, or the left hand side of the car. That is going to be the MGUK component. And MGUK stands for Motor Generator Unit Kinetic. And it basically generates electricity for the hybrid system while under braking. That clutch fully engages under braking, and depending on the index set by the ERS application controller, it can also partially activate when you're coasting. So yeah, there's different engine braking indexes for that, but usually it should be full braking or full engine brake under braking. So I'm going to up the ratios for the MGUK component, because then it will provide pretty good stopping power, and it will also generate a good amount of electricity for the hybrid batteries. So then going to the other side of the car, I'm looking to actually attach the rear drivetrain components to the front wheels first. And what I do is make an outline of the floor, pretty much up to here where the dashboard is. Then I just hook up the stuff right here under the wheel, and the fronts will finally be connected to the rears. And then technically drivetrain is done except for the hybrid system motors, which is actually what I'm going to get to next. So usually all that space in the middle of the car is going to be for the bodywork, obviously, and for microcontrollers, for like controlling the engine, controlling the hybrid system, controlling the transmission. controlling the aerodynamics of the front rear wing. So you see I got a T-piece there, right there on the side of the transmission and the differential. Here's another clutch right here. This is going to be for the hybrid system motors. And then I'm going to gear it up so that the motors don't nearly have to spin as much to have this same amount of RP, give the same amount of power of the wheels. So I'm going to give myself a T-piece, then I'm going to give myself 2 motors. And of course it's going to be 2 small motors. And this is what will propel the car electrically. And right now, the entire drivetrain is done. And now we're going straight to logic and microcontrollers. So now I'm taking the time to wire up the batteries together, then putting in essential systems to like the dashboard, the ignition key, the wings, active arrow wing tips there. And there's also the rear wing. There's also the starter and alternator. All the gearboxes, all the clutches will be powered by essential system. The essential systems, but the hybrid system will go to the parts of the car that actually provide extra propulsion, and which is like the hybrid motors, the turbochargers, all that stuff. So that's the essential systems. Then the bottom 3 batteries for the hybrid system. So that's going to go to coolant, the turbos, the MGUK, which actually recharges it for the most part, and the 2 propulsion motors. And that's literally all you have to do to hook up the hybrid system. In that sort of way, it's simplistic. But now we hooked up everything we could need to hook up in terms of electricity. So now we're going to go into logic and microcontrollers components. So I have a lot of these components were made on my own. Can't forget the exhaust. But I choose to have a modified exhaust component. It's part of the exhaust parts mod, which is also a required 2026 F1 project mod. So yeah, it looks pretty nice there. So now I'm gonna do some microcontrollers. Now go my inventory. Most of these microcontrollers were made by me and were made on my own. Most of them will not be provided. These are just for simplicity. So this specific one is the ECU, which controls the engine, how it behaves. So I'm gonna be hooking all that fiasco first, which isn't very hard. So I go ahead and attach all the nodes to their proper places. And because this is a car that I actually usually drive with a steering wheel, I suggest you get like a Logitech G920 and like some G-Hub or whatever. It would be absolutely perfect for this video. So, which means you have to drive smooth, slow, smooth is fast. Although you can drive fast and smooth. So I just set the settings inside the ECU to respond to a sort of steering wheel. And then I don't have a controller built in for the starter, so I have to get a starter microcontroller separately, but that's okay. Makes everything easier and more compartmentalized. So then I check the settings in the ECU are correct for the F1 engine. I quickly save my car, and we're ready for test. And we're testing the engine first. And wait for it. And I do revving of the engine. So the reason the engine sounds like that is because of another mod which gives engine sounds based on the crankshaft blocks you give it. This one is a V6, I think. So it's the one that sounds the closest to a Formula 1 engine. So, and it sounds beautiful. I just wish your actual F1 engines in this game would be a lot more fun. Yeah, so the only thing that really works right now is the engine. The transmission still needs its controller. Yeah, you can see I'm having a little fun revving it because the engine's complete. You need nothing else to run the ICE itself. But you also gotta get the transmission, the differential, and the gearboxes to at least get this thing moving nicely. So now the next thing I pull out is the F1 racing transmission. It has a built-in launch function where if you hold down your upshift pedal from going to gear 0 to gear 1, it'll leave the clutch disengaged, but the car is ready to launch. And the moment you release the pedal, you are off. And it's a pretty amazing thing that I invented. It's almost like the F1 games, like F1 23, 24, like the way they do that. And yeah, so which also means the engine clutch is also controlled by the transmission. And technically, this thing can move around with some steering stuff, but it won't move around very well because the rear wheels aren't going to be moving because I don't have the differential component, controller component on yet. I'm trying to see if I can utilize any other space before I start filling in the bottom of the car, so I decided to just put my thing there and decide to get my steering in order. And boom, so now I save it and I'm taking it for another test drive, see if it moves around a little bit. You'll notice the dashboard isn't working. That's because I still need another microcontroller for that. So it's all in fun stuff. You'll notice that the wheels are slipping in line, the engine's struggling, the car's struggling to move forward, but the engine is alive. That's because only the front wheels are actually connected to the drivetrain. And I don't have any brakes, so I just slam into the wall. So we know the engine works, the transmission works. Now the next step for me is to get the differential working. So I just slap it right here in front of one of these other microcontrollers right here on this side, and I go ahead and connect all the components. It's really simple. This differential controller in particular has an on throttle and off throttle adjustment. And now that this thing is in, it should actually move. So this car is really like rear happy, trigger happy on the rear, and you notice that I have some oversteering because of the fact that the car is actually too light, and Stormworks treats basically every single vehicle in the game like an airplane. Even though there is some downforce keeping it to the ground, thank God. Um, it's just not keeping the car planted, you know. So I get my dashboard microcontroller up here. It's pretty simple. It just has three things: RPM, your gear, and your DRS indicator. Yeah, so DRS stands for drag reduction system. DRS is used to lower the angle of attack on the front and the rear, and sometimes the front wing in some cases, to decrease downforce, but on the other hand, they gain a lot of more top speed, which is based off of modern Formula One. And to be specific, this double DRS arrangement I have is based off, I think, the 2011 Mercedes, who had that as well. Now you see the main dash in the middle is working, and I have 7 gears. Gear 0 is in fact neutral, and then as for and the RPM indicators may or may not work. Yep, they do. You can see my car is basically lifting off the ground there. This stuff like this is why we have the minimum weight requirement. It's particularly important. I still have no brakes, but yeah, so basically the whole middle blocking of gauges work. Alright, so now I'm getting the ERS components onto the car, or the components that control the ERS. So there's 2 separate microcontrollers for the ERS system. You have the one that delivers the information and also registers activity from the seat component, and then there's one that actually takes those inputs and then turns them into outputs and makes the system respond to what you're trying to do. So we have the so yeah, one node goes to the tail light controller, one goes directly to the seat, one goes to the instrument panel on the dashboard there, the other one, that's for the ERS system. So now I'm deciding which ERS thing to use. But I'm deciding where to put it. I would say right about there is about perfect. And it leaves enough room for the body work later. So yeah, then I connect these 2 composite nodes, and now both of the microcontrollers will keep in contact with each other, and also directly control the ERS hardware components. So I get I have inputs for battery charge and the speed in miles per hour on um, the application controller itself. And actually, this is kind of why I'm actually compacting the gas relief hose, relief valve setup on the top of the engine there. So right now, I'm gonna temporarily use a fuel flow sensor or fuel fluid pressure sensor to prop a linear speed sensor up there, and that will measure the speed, obviously. And then I have a microcontroller that converts those values into miles per hour, because I'm American and stuff. But then the speed in miles per hour would go into the application controller, and that would be specifically for the derating system, or the clipping system, which basically cuts off motor power of a certain speed to conserve battery. Which, honestly, I think is a pretty cool innovation, and F1 also uses this in real life. So you can... Now, looking at the car right now, it's actually coming together pretty nicely. It actually looks a little bit more whole. But I believe there's a few other microcontrollers, such as we have to get ourselves aerodynamics controllers for the front wing, the rear wing, and the rear winglets, and then I'll have to also get another microcontroller for the active aero wingtips on the front wing as well, which is those vertical fins on both sides of the front wing. So, we are utilizing all the space. The winglets preset, you cannot change them as per Parc Fermé regulations. Yes, we have Parc Fermé like real life, and we are placing them wherever we can, while also keeping a nice aesthetic on the car. So like we wouldn't have to get any unnecessary edges from microcontrollers or anything of that sort. So yeah, I'm taking my time to now connect all these DRS components. And now DRS actually works. It actually works now. Now, so DRS, in this case, completely flattens the wing for a zero angle of attack on both the front and rear wing, if I have it set up that way, or if I have double DRS enabled. And then as for this, all 12 of these vertical fins are used to assist in turning the car. So now you can see the right hand side dashboard is lit up very nicely. So that bar, that yellow and red bar in the bottom is the battery. The reason it's not draining is because I have infinite electric on. And everything's going pretty nicely here. Doesn't change the fact I have no brakes though. But I would say it works, I just have to confirm it. I would confirm it later, so nice stuff. So now next thing is to get my digital speedometer to get the left hand side dashboard lit up very nicely. And I thought it was displaying miles per hour first, but I found out later that it was actually displaying in kilometers an hour. But I kind of the conversion between the both of those, so it's not really an issue. At this point, I'm just doing a few test drives, but I'm not able to reach top speed though of what I'm usually able to do. I changed it to miles per hour. I'm only doing about 170, which is about normal for without DRS on. I decided to go for a lap around the Nordschleife portion of the Eastward test track, or I dubbed it the Nordschleife portion. So it's basically the full layout of the track that I'm going to be doing, since I have to come around to the GP Circuit's pit garages as well. I'm not going to be able to have peak performance on this circuit yet though, because one, I have no brakes, and two, this car is not at minimum weight to keep it planted on the ground. So you can see I basically flew into the barrier right there, but also I had oversteer again because this car is on a knife's edge. And then I have to do some extreme drifting and make it through this hairpin. I just hit the wall there because I hit the corner too fast there. I have vehicle damage off though, so it's not an issue that much. Have a major oversteer out of the exit of that turn. Then I realized I have parking brake, I could just use that. I turn off the hybrid system. Alright, good. I would say that was a pretty okay lap. Or, yeah, without the mistakes, it would have been okay lap, pretty much. So now I get to put down some weight on the car, and I'm going to move around some microcontrollers to accommodate. So basically, minimum weight of these cars, yes, we have minimum weight regulations, are 968 mass, or basically 968 kilograms. And we're going to get closer and closer as we go. But first thing we're going to do is put some mass, a good amount of mass, right here in the bottom of the car because of low center of gravity. And then I realized, I look at the coolant system, and I actually got some of it wrong. So it turns out that I color-coded like a couple of wrong pipes. And it actually is slightly more efficient cooling if the extra liquid in the expansion tank gets sucked into the pump. So there we go, fixed the coolant pumps, and also painted the things correctly. Now it had 200 kilos in the bottom. We're at like 613 kilos at the moment. I decided to add one in the back. We're at 713. 813 kilos, which is getting close to the actual legal. Technically, this car is still legal right now, but it's also not finished. And I get oversteer out of the pit lane. I'm just going to do a quick lap around GP layout. Now that's better. That kind of top speed is the top we should see. At least the car without any body work on top of it. And somehow I hit that curb so hard that my car bottomed out and went like 6 feet in the air. And I also had oversteer at the slightest of steering inputs. And I struggle with this a lot more over the course of this next lap. This is like Ferrari F14T. So that corner right there, that sharp 90-degree bend, is the type of corner you should avoid the apex because it dips. It has a positive camber going into that corner. Okay, these corners though have negative camber. You can go as fast as you want. But then again, I got too greedy on inside and placed the car upside down. So nothing much I can do now except take it back to the workbench. So yeah, as of right now, this car is on a knife's edge. Probably even more so, but at least it's stable in a straight line. But as we know, the important part is the cornering. So now we basically have every single function in the car we could possibly need except for the brakes, which will be put on during the installment of bodywork. So I established the floor first with some lightweight blocks. Yep, there we go. And I put in my braking microcontroller, which includes some ABS. And so it'll be better at braking and turning at the same time. So before I get back to that though, I am gonna get to the bodywork though, just doing some minor tweaks on the back here. Alright, so now we got the cockpit pretty much in its own space. We're gonna finish off the nasal bridge of the car. You can see the front nose is not exactly the most solid right now, so we're gonna add some meat onto that nose. And there you go, good as new. Now with these blocks, we're gonna make side pods, and this is the simple version of the design. So basically, I actually have the entry ducts made, and even though I barely just started the side pod, it actually already looks pretty good from the front. So I'm looking for some pyramids and stuff to finish off that front part of the side pod. I just forgot where to look. So yeah, that's the front of the side pods. If I was in that first person POV camera, you wouldn't tell a difference. Except for maybe how it handled. But who knows, it's Stormworks. So now I'm getting... This is like the meat of the side pod right here. It kind of... this profile kind of goes downwards, and then... it kind of narrows out into that rear curvature of the side pod, which honestly just looks good for some reason, and which is part of the reason why I like Formula 1 cars so much, is just that they just look good. So then obviously you have to use some wedges to make it nice and smooth. Yeah, so you can see the side pod narrows out as you go towards the rear wheels. The back of the car will be taken care of later. I'm going to finish off the sides of the side pods first, though. Alright, so looks like the side pod side structures have been finished. Um, we're gonna focus attention right here on the right where the scoop, the quote unquote scoop is. So here we're actually gonna use plates. Plates are actually a little bit more aerodynamically efficient than wedges, but you can use wedges if you wanted to. Doesn't really matter. Um, but it also saves a little bit of weight as well. So you have a little bit more wiggle room with distributing weight. So yeah, so taking care of this engine hood is gonna be just fine. Um, yeah, so kind of getting that scoop structure nailed. I'm looking for different wedges and different um, sizes for the top of the engine hood here. So the engine hood is almost done. It's already covered up most of the engine. We gotta finish up the side pods here. I was gonna use some plates here, but I decided not to because the XML edited pipes for the Halo has is kind of like would be sitting on top, would normally be a side pod. So now I'm finished off the sides of the engine hood. It gets covered up real nicely on the sides. On the back it's still exposed, however, so I get some pyramids and place them down, but I still leave them open and everything, so I have vents essentially. So they kind of act as like aesthetic vents. Then I use some more plates for going over the exhaust pipe, which adds another layer of like aesthetic and kind of looks like it has an aerodynamic purpose. Even though it kind of really doesn't. And yeah, now the only problem this part precisely is that we still have the transmission exposed, but we get that solved quickly though by just putting some blocks over the top of it though. So it's all well and good. Then I just finish off the side pods here and here. And just fill in some blocks so that the body work here in the back covers the engine pretty much completely. And basically, all we have to do is meet the minimum weight. Minimum weight, as I said earlier, is 968 mass/kilos. So we just have to add a few more weight blocks And then this car will actually be fully legal, as it is right now. So based on the oversteering, I'm gonna put a 100 mass block in the front, 808 kilos. Then I'm deciding where I could possibly place some more. And then I realized I forgot to finish up some aesthetic in the nose. So I have to add a little bit of structure on the bottom there to kind of truly finish off the chassis. And literally every single piece of bodywork is now on the car, which is nice. So then I place some 10 mass weight blocks in the back of the car. Then I decide to give the rear crash structure a little bit of detail, the tail light, the rear crash structure, whatever it is. And I believe that the car's reached the minimum weight requirement, and it's ready to be taken out to track again. And before I do that, though, I remember to do the brakes. And it actually has brake bias mechanism built into the microcontroller as well, which is nice. So now the car, I would say now, is completely finished mechanically, and now we have a fully legal car. Let's take it around for a test drive around the GP circuit for a few of them test laps. I get a little bit of oversteer when I try to intentionally just like warm up my tires, although there's no such thing as that in Stormworks. So, yeah, so DRS is still a little bit unstable in the corners. And the brakes are nice and powerful to stop me comfortably for corners. Had a little bit of a moment there in oversteer. Alright, now I do a hot lap right about now. A little bit of moment there. Alright, so yeah, that was a fun, basically 2 laps around the Eastward Test Track GP layout. So right now what I'm doing is I'm making a few setup changes to the car. And like modifying a couple of my microcontrollers so the car behaves a little more nicely, but then again, this is just a tutorial. It takes me a while, but I finally find it. The correct save file. So, yeah, so I keep learning as I go. So, yeah, this is the Formula 1 car tutorial for the 2026 F1 project while also following regulations. So, yeah, congratulations, you completed the tutorial. So, overall, I think I put together pretty well and pretty concisely. So, yeah, it's all going to be fun stuff from here. So, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you haven't already. And until next time, fairies are stupid. Oh, and before I go, please make sure to check for the Discord server in the description for both my official and the F1 2026 server. And I wish you all a good day.